Let's go back to the early days. What's your earliest memory of boxing?
Oh, Harry, I go back, I think in Detroit. Joe Louis and I lived a few doors down from each other. And by living in the same block, naturally he started fighting as an amateur, and all the talk was around the block. And then we used to sell ice on the ice truck, and I would go with him to carry his bag down to a place called Brewster Center. But I never had any idea of wanting to be a fighter. I just went along with him, and he was an idol of mine. And then my parents separated in 1935, and my mother moved to New York. Joe came to New York to fight Primo Carnera, and I started hanging around the camps with him. Still never getting the idea I wanted to be a fighter. And all of a sudden the idea struck me through poverty and everything, wanting to help my mother, because without a father, things were rather very rough then. You remember before the war, it was very bad here in America. And my mother worked hard night and day, and I'd see her crying once in a while. And I wanted to find some way to help her. So I learned that I could earn money fighting. And I went to this club where I met my present manager, George Gainford. And I told him I wanted to fight. And he looked at me and laughed. I was a little skinny kid. I was 16 years old. I wasn't 16 yet. And he said I wasn't old enough, but come back when I got old enough. Well, I said, how old do you have to be? He said, you have to be 18. So I went away, and on the way going out of the club, I met a couple of fellows who had just come in from fighting the night before, and they had gotten, you get a watch, a Waltham watch, 17-jewel Waltham watch. So you can sell it back for $15 if you win, and the loser gets 10. So that stopped me on the door. I said, gee whiz, you got this for fighting? He said, yeah. So I said I wasn't old enough, so I went to a friend of mine whose name was Ray Robinson. He was a bartender. And I asked him to lend me your birth certificate. I want to get a fight license. And I give it back. I meant to give him his name back, but what could I do? Everybody got to know me about it. He calls me a thief now. But that's the way I got started, Harry.
When you started, did you consciously model yourself on anybody?
No, I never did, because I wanted to, I've always had I wanted to know myself. And my idol was Joe Louis, and he being a heavyweight, he didn't move an awful lot around, like smaller men do. I fancied the art of self-defense, and I would read everything pertaining to boxing. I'd go to sleep some nights in the gym up there, and when they closed, listening at the old fellows talk about the old times. And I don't know, I just loved boxing so too. I was interested in every phase of it, every part of it. And I just began, from the very moment I started, I just became successful, I say, because I began to learn right away, but I applied myself to it.
Let's go a little way into your professional career. You met Henry Armstrong, one of your fairly early fights. He was obviously on his way out at that time, and you were very much on your way up. What do you remember about that fight?
Well, this was a fight of me fighting a man whom I idolized, whom I never wanted to. In fact, I would not have. But at the time, as you say, as Henry was going out, and we could make a good payday. And when Henry approached me with the idea, and because I had said no, I didn't want to fight at first. When I finally could help him financially and also myself, then we went through with the fight. But it was, well, I'm not one of the few fights I had in my career where my heart was not in it. I didn't have the heart to want to try it out. Just fought hard enough, and they won. I won the decision. But I'm very happy that since I did have to fight him, that it was at that time in his career. I certainly would not have loved to fought him when he was.
He wasn't the old hammering.
No, definitely not when we fought.